Hey guys, this is Shimshin. Welcome to my channel. So today I really want to showcase a couple of things. One is a PvP build that I've seen certain necromancers, most notably Blissfull, uh, using to just terrorize, especially the Tower War for months now. And I didn't get around to trying it the last time I was Necromancer. In fact, I was missing the last two releases of essences, including this Fateful Frame, which got nerfed and then I think slightly unnerfed or something. But anyway, this is a crazy build, and it's like basically a variant of a spin to win build uh, with a summon, which is the Scatter Light Mages, and it's just a perfect combination. Um, I can vouch for that. It's so OP that it even works when your internet is horrible and you're lagging very badly, because it'll do a whole lot of passive damage. So with this build, I've been able to climb the ranks and the improve my win rate in both battlegrounds. I mean, it's still 57%, but it's climbing. Um, I was doing well with Oroth's latest wizard build for PvP, and then I switched to Tempest. And crazy thing is, Tempest has been considered OP for quite a while, but I just wasn't doing particularly well with Tempest. And then I switched to Necromancer and decided to give this build a try, see what I could do with it. And oh my God, here's Blissfull. Wow. Here is Blissfull himself. Let me just shout him out here. All right, so let's see what we can do with this build, the two of us actually. And, I used to be able to measure my win rate essentially based on, whether I was with or against Blissfull. And now I can have a little bit more control over my win rate than that, but it's still certainly a big factor whether I have him on my side or not. So I'm also looking at one of Oroth's most recent pieces of advice, his strategy for, he calls it a cheesy strategy or a hack or whatever. And it sometimes works and it sometimes doesn't. Basically, there's a way to respond to any tactic, and including this one where you go pretty quickly over to the back idol and control it, and then try to get people, draw people's attention to it, and then try to prevent them from recapturing it, whether you kill them or not. Now, obviously, you're going to get some very high kills using this build regardless. Wow, the enemy absolutely doesn't stand a chance with both of us here. And Blissfull has it more optimized. In particular, he's got 4 out of 4. The last time I checked, he had 4 out of 4 of the Wraith form essences, which gives him a lot more survivability than what I have. I don't have a single one of those essences, or the Eternal Affix rather. But other than that, and he also has his curses, his Reforges, slightly more optimized. And yeah, but other than that, I've been trying to, copy first the basics and then one detail at a time. And I will go and explain those details at the end of this, after this match, and after I go through the basics of the build. But yeah, you've got you've got the popular Grim Scythe and Corpse Lance essences, the most popular ones for spin to win. And then you've also got the scattered light mages. These mages will not only do a ton of DPS, but they'll also they can sacrifice themselves to take a loss of control effect off of you. So this build has a lot of resistance or counters to loss of control effects. And then of course you have rate form, and this variant of the build uses uh, the oldie but goodie pants, which cause your rate form to fear enemies. Um, Now, Blissful and I both have a gem setup, very similar legendary gem setup, which I'll be showing, and it's pretty dang good for dot resolution builds that I play in PvE. But you could, I'm thinking, an alternative could be to switch the pants to those dot resolution pants, and then you'd do even more DPS, but you'd not be fearing enemies. So that's the trade-off. And yeah, there are a couple of alterations that I can think of, but the build, as I've copied it from him, works absolutely amazingly. It is, I would call it, I dare say, meta breaking in a similar way to Aura's latest wizard build. Okay, there we go. Now, Blissful got significantly more kills than I did. Of course, you saw I was just kind of guarding that back idol, the back tower, and it wasn't really people weren't showing up, they weren't falling for it. So let's inspect Blissful. All right, so let's look at his attributes. First of all, he's got the highest secondary attribute in potency, which is important for this build. Let's see what else. He's got 40. Wow. Maybe he's got a buff on. 40% crit chance is super high for base crits chance. I don't know if he has a buff on or something. 34.5% crit damage, 7% attack speed, 7% cooldown. Those are not so high, but this is probably looking at um, strifed attributes in PvP. He does have his movement speed capped at 20%, which is great. And block chance we can see, and he only has 3.8k resonance. Okay, so let's look at his skills. So which I've copied. This is he's running Soulfire, which I never use. Well, very rarely. And then Skeletal Mage, Corpse Lance, Wraith Form, and Grim Scythe. And he's running Brawler Paragon, same as I am. I'm not sure which nodes he's running, but I'm running all the ones on the right hand side. And I'm also running the Death's Release for the legendary skill. Can't I wish you could inspect the details of that on other people, but as far as I know, you cannot. His charm is pretty nice. He's got a couple of 10%. One of them very, very nice for this build for Corpse Lance. And then he's got a 6% on Grim Scythe, 4% on Skeletal Mage. Those are all helping him out with this build. He's got a very good companion, a Dusk Prowler with Savior and high resilience and agility. So, yeah, maxed resilience. It's going to bring down the cooldown of his Savior all the way down to 60 seconds. Now, let's look at the legendary essences that he's running. Fateful Frame for the helm, Gallows Born for the chest, Executive Discontent for the shoulders, Proximal Fear for the pants, Defiling Swarm for the first main hand, Departed Appetite for the first offhand. These are very common. He's using Stroke of Midnight to reduce the cooldown on his rate form, and this is the twist for this variant of the Spin to Win build is Scattered Light offhand for the mages combined with Executive Discontent shoulders. There are also some shoulders that give you crit chance, but they basically drain the enemy and increase your crit chance over time. And so executive discontent will, the benefit will be there, uh, I think, more consistently. On the other hand, crit chance buffs are particularly strong in PvP, not so strong in PvE because they crit buffs from essences. Basically, they don't give you the actual crit chance that they say that they do. They only give you, uh, basically the based on how much how much crit chance you don't have. Like if you have a 30% crit chance, then and the essence gives you 10% crit chance, it would only give you like 10% of 70. So like 7%. I mean, I'm just giving throwing numbers out there. Uh, but in PvP, the damage buffs are strifed, meaning they're only 30% effective, but the crit buffs are not. And so that could be a good alternative. Of course, instead of Fateful Frame, you could also go with there is of course the Bleed Essence, uh, which for the same skill, for what's it, Grim no, Corpse Lance actually. Uh, Blanking on the name, or you could go for the Emperor of Worms. But Faithful Frame has the advantage that it can interrupt bandaging, and Blissful has the utility that Emperor of Worms would give through other means. So let me just finish off the details of the build, inspecting me. So for the sets, he's using 4 Angmets and 2 Barons and 2 Vithus. And basically, this is a standard dot purge build for set combo for PvE. But so it's convenient to use the same sets for PvP. And although for PvP, you could alternatively replace the 4 Angmets with 4 Grace, which also interrupts bandaging. So both would be viable options, given that you're not using the dot purge pants to really get maximum use of the 4 Angmets. Grace would be another alternative for that. Now, for curse properties, we're using 6 Vexed, and he's using two. Last I checked, he was using 2 Atrophied. I am using 2 Nettled because I have shields. So he does not. He's basically his reforges are well, let's look at mine. He has similar reforges to what I have on my helmet, which is beneficial effects duration increase, damage taken while suffering loss of control increase, damage taken from players reduce, and then the other two are a little bit more variable. Actually, no, he's got damage to players increase on all of them. And then for the fifth one, it varies. He's got some slots with skill damage, some slots with damage, increased damage to enemies suffering loss of control, some with damage to enemies below 30% life, etc. So yeah, he has the fifth one a little bit variable, and let's see what else. So one thing, so he basically has Jolt on all of the Jolt family bonus on all 8 pieces. So he's going for that uh, immobilize that you could get from Emperor of Worms helm. He's getting that from his Jolt family bonus instead. Whereas most of my slots, I'm for PvP, I'm actually using barrier, and that's why I'm using 2 Nettled instead of 2 Atrophied. Um, so you want to pay attention always to the details and how things synergize with the rest of your build in the details. And that's why, you're going to get your best performance not necessarily by copying every detail, but by thinking about it and how it synergizes with the rest of your build. Now, 6 Vexed, I think, was a really smart choice. yeah, it's gives a consistent DPS boost to your mages, and I've actually switched to using from golem to mages, the scatterlight mages for a lot of my PvE builds as well. So um, here I was using Oroth's challenge dungeon build, but then I've recently switched to Lorith's raid build, and I think I'm going to try that out in challenge dungeons as well, because now we've got this great affix. Grim Scythe is one of the new affixes that slows enemies by 15% for 6 seconds. So yeah, this is another great one. The most impactful one, I think, would be the Wraith form, which Blissful has 4 out of 4, and I sadly don't have any. Grim Scythe would also be a great Eternal affix, and also for PvE, because that allows you to no longer use um, the golem that Oroth uses, which is, I think, a very smart choice. It was a very smart choice at the time, because he made this video, which I'll link in the description, before that affix was introduced. So he was using the devouring golem to which essence is that rotted harvest, to slow enemies. But now, if you have any of the Grim Scythe eternal affixes, you can use mages instead, which are higher DPS. So I'll also link um, Lorith UK's latest raid build, where he basically, well, he was using Fateful Frame, and then he switched back to the what is this called? Studied Menace, but he is using one that I don't have yet.
I have
The
much.
other, let's see, the other Corpse Lance Essence, oh, the other Grimside Essence, Death Disseminates. This is another one that was nerfed. So I saw, yeah, Blissful. Oh my God, he was a terror. He's been a terror in general. Despite nerfs, he always manages to adjust. And yeah, that's a mark of a good player, that's really manages to adjust, basically, uh, to nerfs or buffs or whatever, um, and adjust very quickly. So yeah, this was great for PvP for a while, and yeah, now we're back to the oldie but goodie. But Lorith still uses Death Disseminates for raids. I would probably still use Departed Appetite for challenge dungeons, because you're trying to do a lot of damage to multiple enemies, AoE damage in challenge dungeons. So anyway, back to Blissful's build. Um, the details are important. So um, what I would recommend, some general optimization advice that I have, is to try to get all your gear to have fortitude and willpower if possible. Um, Now, there may be other priorities as far as the magic attributes that take preference, but if you have all your main gear to level 30, you can enchant at a blacksmith and change one of the magic attributes to something better. So that makes it a little bit more, um, advisable for if you've got all your primary attributes maxed and unlocked the enchant feature, to generally prioritize gear with the best primary attributes: fortitude, willpower, and intelligence, at least for PvP, where that stuff is more impactful than it is for PvE in general. In PvE, it's still, you're gonna still, be better off focusing on the right magic attributes. But for PvP, you kind of want to prioritize stuff with fortitude and willpower on it. And it's debatable whether you want to get a third attribute as well, which will give you higher combat rating and allow you the pieces to roll an additional magic attribute. or whether you want to focus on gear that's only got fortitude and willpower. It's a trade-off. That is up for debate, but Blissful and I both go with the triples, and that gives the higher combat rating and possibly an additional magic attribute. So things that both of us prioritize, first of all, general magic attributes that are great for all content, which is crit chance, crit damage. Those can roll on head, shoulders, and weapons. And then let's see here. Beneficial effects duration on chest and legs, as well as belt and boots. And then we've got, let's see what else is good. Accuracy rating is great for PvP. It doesn't do anything in PvE. So before, when I was playing Tempest recently, I actually had a piece that was for one of these slots that instead of having accuracy rating and had crit chance, and so it was better for PvE. But I chose the accuracy rating one for PvP, and the cap is 30%. It's strifed down to like 9% in PvP. Um, but and Killswitch recommends capping it. I think probably if you want to be efficient, just get two pieces. So you have 24% max with two max rolls. That'd be good. And yeah, and other good attributes, skill damage, of course. For this build, it's uses almost entirely skills instead of primary attacks. Um, let's see, we've got other good ones. Let's see. Yeah, primary attack damage is not very impactful for this particular build. Let's see what else. What else is good? Skeletal Mage. I mean, in actually, no, you don't need that one for this build um, because the mages you're going to use are invulnerable. They were untargetable. So you don't actually need things that increase their survivability, although this will trigger well, it'll trigger four Vithus, which we're not using in this build. So it's actually not really impactful for this build at all. And then on the other set pieces, you want to get for magic attributes, skill cooldown reduction, damage taken from players reduce, and damage done to players increased. I mean, this is like a perfect roll right here. Oh my God, this is so good, this item for PvP especially. And let's see. Oh, I should probably re-roll that. Damage done to demons. It has no effect in PvP. And let's see what else. Movement speed is great. So as well, and that's one of the few things. So damage taken from players, damage done to players, and movement speed are three of the only attributes that are not strifed in PvP. They have their full effect instead of being cut to 30% effectiveness. And um, so movement speed, you want to have that ideally capped at 20%, and you can get some of that with Blood-Soaked Jade that gives you 10%, even starting at rank one. And yeah, then then the stance is going to be kind of depending on that, which stance is better. So attack. Command stance gives you and your summons increased attack speed. If you have at least 10% movement speed, or if you have more than 10% movement speed, I would use command stance. And if not, I would use agility stance for this build yeah, because movement speed I think is even more important than attack speed for PvP. And let's see what else. So let's talk about the legendary gems now. So most of these gems are the same as what Blissful was using last I inspected him. Bottled Hope, Morn Skull, Colossus Engine, Roiling Consequence, Blood-Soaked Jade, and Viper's Bite. The last time I inspected his gems, he was using all of these. Now, what he was using was, instead of Everlasting Torment, he was using uh, the Black Rose for even more chance to immobilize opponents. And instead of Crimson Behelit, he was using Pain Class, but oh my God, Crimson Behelit is, I would say, clearly the better choice for PvP, and I would highly recommend you guys to rank this up um, before the month ends. And yeah, super good gem for especially for PvP. All right, so now let's take a look at a game, Necro versus Necro here. So I am against Blissfull in this game, and I usually can't kill this guy. I mean, even when I'm significantly higher reso than him, it doesn't matter. There are very few classes and builds where I stand a chance against him, and yeah, this is one of them. Of course, if I'm playing his build and his class. Um, yeah, I also did all right with him against him with when I was playing Monk with before the helicopter build got nerfed. Yeah, when it was pretty OP, I had somewhat of a chance if I timed things perfectly. And also playing Oroth's latest wizard build. But I think I've never been, more evenly matched against him than playing his own build on his own class. So there we go. And yeah, you can see here that I'm having a significantly harder time than when I was on his side. And I'm really, I'm really trying to take him out and limit. This is like harm reduction here. I'm trying to focusing on kind of limiting the amount of harm that he can do. And thankfully, while I'm focused on that, my teammates have gone and capped some towers. So yeah, it's definitely teamwork. I got to give credit to my teammates here for capping towers while I'm focused on Blissfull, keeping him at bay as much as I can. All right, let's go back out here. Yeah, they are some strong people. This Demon Hunter OSG is also very strong, and clearly, yeah, I need those 4 of 4 wraith form affixes. I think I'll probably make a guide soon on itemization and crafting. That's another idea I have for a video. So I think I want to show like live how I use crafting to get 4 of 4 wraith form as an example of how to use it to its best benefit. Save up that rhodolite. My plan is, yeah, save up. So I've got at least 24 rhodolite so that, basically craft the standard pieces to see if I get lucky first. And then if I don't, well, then craft some fine crafts with rhodolite. That's my plan. I think that's a more affordable and, less time consuming plan than, uh, the plan of just buying a whole bunch of Terra Essence and running a whole bunch of Oblivion pillars. So yeah, definitely, especially when the game is close like this, you want to certainly always keep an eye on the mini map, and that applies in all modes, really. Um, in fact, there's a setting you can choose to increase the size of the mini map. If you go into settings, if you haven't activated that, I'll definitely go and look for it and activate it. And yeah, always make sure that your team is controlling more of the towers because that's the whole point. That's the way that you win. That and it can really help to defeat the Guardian. So here looking at the score as well, you see that at this point it's pretty evenly matched. We're around the same score, just over 600, and the Guardian spawns at 800. So definitely be mindful of that and make sure that you have more of your team than their team positioned at the Guardian when it spawns. And yeah, normally I like to activate my buffs before I go into Wraith form. But of course, when you need to escape, just freaking Wraith out. You got to make that call. Here I am chasing down Blissfull. Okay, I'm making sure that he doesn't get the kill on the Guardian. That's basically my main priority here. My number one priority, making sure he or nobody he neither he nor anyone else gets the kill on the Guardian. Okay. So it looks like our team killed a Guardian, and that put us at a significant lead. It would have otherwise been a very close match. And so it came down to that. That was instrumental there. My basically, interfering with Blissfull using his own build is was very instrumental in helping us score. Well, I guess I spoiled it here. It would be hard for them to win at this point, even though we have fewer kills. You see, so it's not always about which team is stronger in terms of resonance or secondaries. Of course, those have an impact, but so does having great builds, and so does playing well with great tactics and strategy. So here we go. We're down to the final push here. Yeah, this is pretty much game over. And yeah, really good game. Good game, Blissfull. I think that was a well-balanced match there with the two of us against each other. And you see in this game, neither of us were actually on top, you see? So we had some very strong players, but I think both of us were quite impactful in this game. So anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please give the build a try, and also please like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Take care.